Apparently we're live, so don't sweat.
Sorry, so we're live on Facebook right now.
Live on Facebook.
And Cambridge Analytica. Exciting.
Yeah, everyone loves Facebook. So they'll know everything about me now because I've been streaming.
Yep.
Big ones you say. Kicking off. Okay, I think we're kicking off now. Welcome everyone. My name is John Hansen. I'm the Senior Services Engineer at Treatwell, which means in reality I'm Mac admin. I'm pretty much full-time Mac admin. I've worked here since May. Before that there wasn't a full-time Mac admin, there was a team of services who were doing it, but they decided they needed someone to do it permanently. And I thought I'd talk about what we do, which is traditional for these things. I did a talk last year about our project to move from Monkey to Jam. I'm going to try and not repeat myself too much, because some of you might have heard that. And yeah, so it's a bit more general about what we do and what we look like and business and so on. So, if you can remember what it is, I'll kick off. Very quickly, who are we? Where are you? So Treatwell is a booking service for hair and beauty. Started in 2008, and then Wahanda. So some of you, or some of you know, might have heard about Wahanda before. That brand is completely gone. We're now Treatwell, have been for a few years. We've also merged with a few companies in Europe, so we're actually across Europe as well. So even though you're now in headquarters, we have, we're in 11 markets, which I think means 11 countries, more or less, across Europe. So the big countries like France and Spain and Germany. Germany's a big one. We have 4 main offices. Barcelona is our customer support hub. We have a big one in Berlin. And one in Amsterdam, which was also a big tech hub at one point, but we merged all the tech in here, apart from our developers in Lithuania. So we have a lot of apps developers in Lithuania, and trying back and forth a lot. So it's moving around quite a lot. But it's quite interesting I'm used to working in a different company. I used to work in Hercules London, and that was all very focused in one town. And this is now across Europe, which is a big change for me. What we do is you can book all these things. I literally pulled that off the site. So haircuts, I now book my haircuts through our app. Hair removal is actually a really big part of our business for various parts of your body. Facials and nail treatments and so on. I don't think I'm revealing any big secrets when I'm saying that. About 70-something% of our customers are women, as you would expect. So a lot of women will have heard about the company, so even if us blokes haven't. And again, they might have heard of Wahanda as well, because that used to be a sort of data deals company, for beauty. But we're no longer that, we're just the booking service now. And one of the topics that we've been talking about recently, just to mention this, is we're now trying to be mobile first. A big part of our business is mobile stuff. So the big products that sort of people outside the company sees is the marketplace, which is a website, but it's also an app. So a lot of our really good customers are using the app. So they're very keen on being mobile first. We also have a B2B app called Treatwell Connect, which is for the salons. And this is, a lot of this revolves around either selling this service to people or making it work properly. So we have a very big tech business. So we're both a tech company and a beauty company. A bit more about the tech side. We are we were a startup. After 10 years, can't call ourselves a startup, but we're a fairly modern company. So at some point, we decided we're going to be Mac. So we're actually, if you don't say anything else, you're going to get a Mac. So we're 80% Mac, 10% Linux, and 10% Windows. That's very approximate numbers, and it changes a bit as well. And I'll talk a little bit about why that is later. We're more than 500 staff. We're recruiting. If you know software engineers who really want to work in a nice office in London, send them here. They really want to know. Big recruitment drive on that at the moment. iOS-wise, we have about 100 plus. Actually, it's quite a bit more now. iPhones and iPads. So we haven't focused a lot on this internally. You know, we're a mobile-first company. We don't use them that much for the business side of things, but that might be changing. And we are using a lot of the salespeople are using it a lot. So I think that's going to change as well. That number has gone up quite a bit since I started. Mac side of things, we're really pushing. I'm really pushing updating the operating systems. We're going to have another go very soon at getting people onto High Sierra. But we've been trying almost from the start when High Sierra came out to move them on. Challenging sometimes. Sometimes people don't want to do it, and sometimes there's issues around it. But we are mostly there. We only have a very small handful of devices on pre-Sierra that they do exist, but that's really, really big thing I know for me. I'm really trying to get rid of that. It's a big move. This is slightly about what I talked about the last time I was talking, last year. We had migrations. We had an imaging setup with Deploy Studio and Monkey. Very, very few left. We never image anymore. We rebuild when we have to, and then use Jamf Pro, as you can see. But there's still a very small number left for various reasons, which is not terribly important, but we are really trying to push that out. Now, company culture. So I came from higher education. So when I started in higher education, it was very sort of anyone in IT did pretty much whatever they wanted. Because that's how it happened in higher education. At the time I worked there, it became a lot more corporate and very sort of process-driven and so on, which has its benefits, but also can get a bit frustrating. So when I started here, I was looking for a company like this, and this kind of company is, in a ways, it's in terms of culture, it is a bit more open, and you can do stuff, and it's very based on your responsibility. Everyone here are expected to be sensible. That's the fundamental thinking. So we allow people to do lots of stuff. We're saying, no, it's not banned. But you should probably think about what you're doing. Don't be stupid. We think you're all clever people. So you should be doing things that way. But it also means that there's a lot of focus on you should show initiative and try and do stuff yourself. So if you find one new way of doing things, be open about it, say, okay, I want to do this, I'm going to try this out, this kind of stuff. So as long as it's not completely, a really bad idea, then we usually say, yeah, have a go and see how it is. Obviously, if we realise, okay, this is a terrible idea, we might have to do it. So, and we really do try and get people to be open about what they're doing and tell us what they're doing. So if someone says, I want this new piece of software, and they say, well, tell us at least, don't hide it away. And if it's not crazy, then, fine, you go for it. But don't do anything stupid like, send all your customer data to Facebook. I'm going to be blocked now on Facebook. So that is a very open culture. There's obviously these days all trendy things like Beyond Corp and all these kind of things. We're not quite there. No one's quite there. so we are doing things. Sometimes we're doing things in sort of more traditional way, but we are trying to be relatively open to doing things in general. So that is the company culture. So, for you guys here, I suspect a lot of you guys know about these problems. What happens when you have people saying, "Oh, I'm using Windows, well, you can use Windows," and I'll do a slide about Linux in a minute as well. So we, as I said, we try and say, okay, you started here, you should have a Mac, but if you talk to certain people in finance and some other people who are very dependent on Microsoft Excel and sometimes some other software, it's very hard to say, oh, you have to use Mac because Microsoft Excel, lovely as it is, the Mac version still isn't quite there. I know Microsoft is really trying to push it to be feature compatible with the Windows version. They've been promising that for 20 years. It might actually happen now. It sounds like they're actually going there. So, people are live and die by pivot tables and might finally have a Mac version that actually works. You can always hope. So that's a big issue. So performance, Microsoft Excel is actually a big deal still, but it's a relatively small number of people for us. So we have finance people and some spreadsheet people who also use Mac, even though they're very dependent. So it depends a little bit, but it's a complicated picture now rather than 10 years ago. It's like, well, probably start using the Mac version. And of course, we had a couple of people who have personal preference saying, I have to use Windows because for me that is the only option. It's very, very, very few now who say that, especially if I'm I'm actually surprised how little I get that. Most people are very open to using that. But if someone absolutely doesn't want it, we'll hear them out. But for us, it will actually be an extra cost to the company to support Windows. So I've been in this business for a long time. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's clearly for us it'll be more expensive to support Windows because it takes a lot more of our time, and it's basically just a lot of hassle. So that is brave new world for us. Linux, a lot of our software engineers are very, very, very attached to Linux, which I suspect is not surprising to people. So that's mostly down to personal preference. But some people have also got very special requirements for how their computer, for their performance of their computer. So they might want to spec a computer very specifically one way or the other. They don't always buy it, but the software engineers, we allow quite a lot of choice for them. They're also very difficult to hire, so we do try to be nice to them, and sometimes it's genuinely very good reason to do it. I literally had today, a software engineer, who'd been on the Linux computer, and it broke today, and he said, "Can I have a Mac?" And like, wow, I didn't even realize. And we said yes. So he's a front-end developer, so a lot of front-end developers are actually on Mac as well. But a lot of the system admin type DevOps kind of people are very attached to Linux. And that's the main reason we have Linux on the desktop. Basically, there's no outside of that. So that's the world we live in. Now, not everything is wonderful on the Mac side. We are using DEP, Device Enrollment Program, and we also have to keep stuff up to date. So for us, that is the big challenge. Device Enrollment Program, I'm not going to go into the whole thing because I'm assuming most of you have actually dealt with this. It's still not 100% reliable. It also still drives me slightly crazy that people can skip it. I wish there was a way of forcing it to be harder, because if we have to deploy a machine somewhere where we're not at the time, for instance in the country where we don't have our IT people, if they start it up and there's no network, it just gets so it's completely different than iOS, obviously, where you have to activate it against Apple servers. So that's still an issue. I think it's slightly improved over the last year, so I think it's slightly more reliable than it was. Less failures. Software patching, which some people I'm going to talk about later today, is still takes a lot of my time to do. There's a lot of software out there, and they get patched a lot. Google Chrome. Period of new version every week, which is great. And what I was going to talk a little about in a few minutes is we're using different ways of deploying and patching. So I'm using VPP, for instance, for the post program. I'm using that to manage things like Slack, Slacker, and Apple's Keynote, and so on. That has its own issues. I literally was messing around with it today to try and force things to update. And it's a bit manual in Jamf Pro, and I'm switching to automate that more than it does. So that it sort of works most of the time. Jamf Pro also has its new patching system, Jamf Pro 10, patch policies, which I also use when we can. But of course, there's software that doesn't fall in any of those categories, and I have to create various other ways, smart groups, and so on, to deal with that. And that is still a big challenge. It seems like a lot of work, sometimes very little benefit to deal with all that. Also, I still struggle with the OS updates, because you can't really force it on people, right?
Yes, you can.
You can, but it's it's the human aspect of nuking people's computer without warning. It's not a popular thing. So I'm trying to be nice to people and give them a warning and nag them and all this kind of stuff. So again, it would be nice if that was a smoother process. It's still a big challenge for us. Stuff. I'm going to skip on to the next one. So we're a Jamf Pro customer, as you probably realized. I'm using the cloud version, which is mostly fine. And this week, I've been out of sync for a week between 10.3.4 and the new Jamf Pro cloud, which is apparently happening tonight. And of course, if you're on-prem, you could upgrade your own instance if you're brave and know what you're doing. But it has been a bit challenging. I want to do things like whitelists, kernel extensions, and all this kind of stuff now, because I'm getting support calls saying, "Oh, it exists, it doesn't work." So I'm sure you've also heard about these things. Jamf's doing obviously a really great job of being absolutely on the ball, but occasionally they are still out of sync, and it is causing issues in short periods of time. I think we've had some challenges around the software updates feature and stuff like that, so I'm sure they're very, very busy. But most of the time it is a really good combination. It is really great that I can use most of the features almost immediately. It's still a good solution for a small-ish company like us. We have Monkey, and I think Monkey's great, and there's lots of other open source stuff. I still want, if you really want to compete with the Jamf guys, the Upsize guys still has to, in my opinion, produce a proper stack that hangs together. I don't think Monkey's enough. I think we need, all the other things like there's lots of things, sort of package and stuff like that as well. But it's the whole stack is quite hard to get up and running and keep maintaining it as well. So it's still a very good choice for me personally. So I think it's worth doing. Now, another challenge, top of my list, coming month or two, is managing file vaults. We have most of our people are on one-to-one computers. Firewalls mostly works fine. And to be honest, there's so few problems I think worth mentioning. Computers with multiple users is not great. Firewalls. So we used to bind everything to Active Directory, and we still do for some computers where we have customer service people where there's a lot of temps and a lot of people moving around, coming and going and so on like that. And we're going to have to move away from that because we have to encrypt everything. It's a requirement, we have to do it. So we're actually now changing our mindset and our users' mindset is that you will have an allocated computer to deal with the firewall thing. I've looked at other things, I've tried out things like Nomad and then I'll log in and all these kind of things. It's not quite there yet for us. I'm hoping it's going to come soon so we can start using it. But we are going to have to move away from all these computers. So that is going to be my challenge and our challenge, I think, for the coming weeks and months, get that sorted out. So we can go and tell our owners everything is encrypted. So, for GDPR and basically for general data protection, I don't have a choice anymore. And of course, one wonderful day, every Mac will come with an encryption turned on by default, right? With the new T2 chips and all that kind of stuff. I'm looking forward to that day. I suspect it'll be a few years, but that will certainly save a lot of hassle in terms of compliance. But yeah, so that's a very quick run through of who we are and what we're doing at the moment. I'm going to hand over to Angelo. Are you ready? Angelo wants to introduce what he's talking about himself today. I'll let you know. With new questions in the breakout.
Are you taking your machine away?
Yeah.
Sorry about this. Whatever. Yeah, we got it. Hi, everyone. John asked me to break the machine.
It's my speciality.
There we go. John asked me kindly to present something regarding GDPR and the work that we're doing here to secure data. And it's not securing data, it's actually protecting our staff, making sure that we don't make mistakes when we have our machines lose them on a train or leave them in the Starbucks or something. So these things happen, so we need to make sure that we are ahead of the staff making mistakes. And mistakes are not made intentional, they are accidental. So how do we help them? And with the tech team, their support, we have implemented a few changes here. Would you believe it, for instance, screen locking is something that's mandatory for security, so you don't leave your machine on open for 24 hours or whatever. So I came to Treatwell 8 months, 10 months ago. 9 months. My background is predominantly ISO 27001. I worked in a NHS environment where the IG SOC was very important, so it's very similar frameworks. So GDPR is coming, we're not going to ignore it, so we have to do something about it and help the company progress with it. So I think, no, that's that. That's the arrow, there we are. GDPR, when it comes to security of personal data, emphasizes on 3 things. If anyone has dealt with ISO 27001, it's identical. It's confidentiality, integrity, and availability of your data. We're not going to talk about everything GDPR, but only when we're going to talk about personal security when it comes to devices. There's lots of legal stuff. I don't get into that. Yeah, the legal guys are doing it. But you have to make sure that the data you have is kept confidentially. Your integrity of the data, therefore no one compromises it, no one messes around with it. And data is no use to anyone if it's not available. So therefore, on your laptop, you've downloaded something, you need to go and work on it, it has to be intact, it has to be kept confidential, and it has to be available for you to work on. The next slide is Article 32, but it's not the whole thing. Very, very summarized. I'm not going to read it, it's just there. What I'm interested in, again, Article 32 says the data has to be kept in confidential, integrity, and available. Nothing different to what GDPR, ISO 27000 said for years and years and years. So anyone that has been doing ISO should not be surprised with GDPR. But this time, these things are mandatory. Everyone in Europe or anyone dealing with an EU national or citizen has to do it, whether you're in America or whether you're in China or wherever you are. You have to implement some regulations for you to protect the EU nationals. And the bottom part here I've put, slides will be available if you want, but then the bottom part is what ISO has been saying in Annex A for years and years and years. It's information security, asset management, access control, cryptography, physical environment security, and operational security. That's just a few. And why am I mentioning these things? This is where John comes in with JAF and what he's implemented on our laptops, for instance. That is self-explanatory. There's no question that we are going to have to do something about it. We're going to have to protect our staff to make sure that what they're holding is secure. It's not going to be messed with. There's going to be security measures. So the next thing is, what have we done with mobile device management and Apple? Everyone knows that all the techies know that you're going to encrypt your drive. You want to know where your assets are, and you want to know what assets you have. So you call it asset management. For those of you that are allowed, the courier company will say you have location tracking with certain MDMs, screen locking, password policies. The list can go on forever. But these are the things that when I joined here, sitting next to John, I said, John, can we do this? Can we actually lock the machines when failed attempts to with your password? Yeah, you can. Can you lock and unlock devices remotely, for instance? Yes, you can. Stop anyone putting a USB drive in there. It's for me, this is not something new, but it's new to the company because the company's ethos is we are an open company and we are very welcoming to members of staff, and we want them to be free to do as they wish. I always like to add within reason. Because you need to be sensible. You cannot just do anything you want with the machine. For business reasons, we have what we call recommended applications, but free to install anything that you want that is not going to be used for a business. For instance, you can install Spotify to listen to your music. You can do things like that. But one of the things that we want to make sure, John has touched on it earlier, system patches and application patching. If you make sure that your machine is up to date with the OS, with the applications on Chrome that's there every week, and yeah, then you have the integrity of the operating system, the encryption of the operating system, of the drive. One of the things that I asked me when I joined is, does it have antivirus? John came up with an alternative. It's not an alternative, it's something that Apple does, called XProtect, I believe. And it's a new phrase to me, but protection against potentially unwanted programs. I had to quit it because I've never heard of that before, because it was either a virus or not, or it's a malware. But now it's called unwanted programs. What are those, John? We talked about this bit mining. It's not doing any damage to your software or to your device, but it's using your machine for it. And yeah, a firewall, and enable it, disable it. And you know who has done that. You can track what applications are in your machine. So security, according to Adriana, is the most boring thing, and I agree with her. But unfortunately, one has to do it. It's not very famous, not very popular. I'm probably the most unpopular person in the company, but it has to be done. That's it, really, because I don't want to go on about it, about GDPR and information security, but it's going to happen. We can't ignore it. Therefore, we either have to work with it and put things in place, or I don't know what else we can do. Questions can be asked later if you have anything quickly now. Sorry.
Let's take questions first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's do questions for both of us. Does this sound completely alien, or is it the same as you are doing, or realistic? Are we very weird? In that sense, like letting people install software on the computer? Yeah. So, from where I'm coming from, in higher education, we used to just let everyone install software. That's not the case. I know that's not the case in every institution. How do you guys feel about that? Up and down. So sometimes it's mandated and you can't. Now, for me, when someone says on the Mac, "Oh, you can't install software on the computer," now they have a home directory where they can put binaries they can run.
Everyone's listening.
So, by default anyway. So if I'm going to blacklist stuff, I need to know how to blacklist or whitelist stuff even worse. That's quite challenging on a Mac. To be honest, I used to do a lot of Windows support. Windows as well. We had people running stuff off the temp directory, all sorts of stuff. Get LAN games.
That's what the option installs, it's self-service.
So we use self-service and we encourage people to use it, but we can't keep up with absolutely everything that everyone wants. And sometimes we don't want to encourage people, but we say, "Oh, all right then." So then it's like, well, you can't actually stop them unless you have a very strict setup, very bound system. So we're trying to be honest with our users, say, okay, this is how it is. If you really want to run this, run it from your own directory, as long as it's not doing anything bad. But we are assuming that they understand that if they do something bad, yeah, they'll be in trouble.
But do I have to delete my uTorrent application?
Sorry.
Do I need to delete my uTorrent application?
Yeah, torrenting. Great. Everyone stopped doing that. Then
It is for personal use. So
yeah. We haven't been sued by Sony yet. And that's a joke, but it's not when you really are being sued by Sony for sharing movies. So we will obviously, as we grow, have to deal with more stuff. And we're doing it grow. But for us, the default position is to let people try stuff out. As I said, the company culture, that's how it is. Yep.
Do you have any touch bar Macs? And does the retention of biometric data cause any particular problems?
Yeah, I'll repeat that question. Asking if we have any touch bar Macs and whether we are dealing with the biometric data situation there. We have now, I think, 2 touch bar Macs.
3.
Is it 3? Oh yeah. So it's basically for our media people doing video editing, that kind of stuff. We want laptops or their laptops. So they need performance of the high-end machines. We're not buying those because we like the touch bar. We like the performance of them. And we haven't really got into that because there's a few of them we know who they are. But yeah, that's something we need to think about, especially if we're disposing of them. I'm aware of the problem, but we haven't actually tackled that.
Yeah, true. You.
He's going to have to deal with it when we get to the point where we have to dispose of them. But yeah, that's obviously an issue. I'm also very interested in what Apple's doing there. I'm hoping they're going to give us better tools to deal with that.
From a security standpoint, are you using a firmware password?
Oh, so the question is, are we using firmware password? We are not right now. It's something I'm considering, but it hasn't been top of my list.
given that anybody who can use Google can go in and use reset password?
So everything's encrypted in firewalls, so they shouldn't be getting into the data. And of course, we're doing it in the end, so we're wiping machines if they get lost or stuff like that. So you can get into the firmware, but if you don't have firewall part of the user, you can't get into the data on the machine. This is the theory, right? So that's how we dealt with it so far. I'm thinking about all this, but again, Apple's coming up with new hardware, right? It's going to help us with all this kind of stuff. Still hoping.
Hopefully.
Yeah, as you probably realised, we've gone for the really obvious things for now, because we really have to move, because GDPR deadline, so we really have to move with the really fundamentals. Doesn't mean that we're not thinking about stuff like this as well.
So, just a quick one on your relationship.
That's what
The public one. So,
I'm not repeating that.
you're the tech guy and you're the infosec manager.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to GDPR and GDPR, basically reporting on the status of your estate in relation to how GDPR is compliant. I'm just curious, do you make use of Sage Alpha Pro in this case, the reporting tools, or are you working with what's
I'm not, but I have asked John, I haven't used it, but I know it's there. And I've asked John, I think I've listed yesterday on it's the reporting side, what it can report on. What I want to know is, can it keep historic data? So if it can report on what applications have been installed or what levels of software it is on, but the reporting of failed login in terms of has anyone else tried to log on? All this, I believe, is, you told me the name of the something.
I'll do that, yeah.
But yes, it's there. We don't have a need for it right now. The fact that we know it's there, it will be used at some stage. One of the things that in organizations like this that is very important, people don't like to have logs kept, things like that. It's a change of mentality that when I've come from a place that everything was fine, NHS, every login had to be kept. Here we don't. In the future, GDPR is the most ambiguous, shall I say, requirement ever, because there are things that are 3 lines and lawyers will give you 3 pages of explanation what those 3 lines mean. Someone wants to make money maybe, so you want to read it way longer. But until things happen with GDPR, we won't know exactly. What we're trying to do is, you see there are business companies out there that more or less have been dealing with, I always say 27,001 ISO, 27,018 for cloud, and 17 for cloud things. You try and understand what historically has happened, and GDPR is emphasizing on those things. But what we have to know is, what do we do from here? All the machines have to be encrypted, for instance. We didn't have to do that 6 months ago or 6 years ago. Now we have to, and we have to make sure we protect those machines. I don't remember the tool, what it's called, but I'll hand the mic over for John to talk.
Yeah, so I think you've got picked up by the microphone, so they probably heard it on the stream. So yeah, we're talking reporting. So from a technical point of view, so what we have now is obviously Jam Pro, and that does some reporting, and he's getting better all the time down in the report features in, which is great. It saves me a lot of hassle. Literally just create a reporting form to do expect or set reporting one form. It's still not the best reporting tool in the world. So my thinking of the future, and once we're over the hump of all this, is to start looking at things like using Lowe's query. So that's what I promised him, that it's on the back burner for now, we have to do other things. But that's why I'd like to look at where we can, because it's basically a SQL interface to your system, you can literally automate anything that can pick up, which is crazy amounts of information. Probably way too much for infosec people, because you can spy on people, which obviously we did not do. But it's so powerful. That's what I'm looking to do in the future for this, because then we can really customize the reporting. That's what I really want to be able to do, to really customize it, because it can do other tools as well. But then it's usually requires you running a shell script or something like that, which seems a little bit old school to me. I'd like something a bit more modern. So Blind Fleet or Central or anything like that looks wonderful, but it takes a bit of setting up resources, so we're not there. Did that?
No. I'm interested in the expectations of a technical versus a non-technical, but IT person. InfoSec is a good example, especially now with GDPR and all these things we were talking about. Jareth is a good example because I agree with you. It's great in that it will act on things that you, as a technical person, want to know and you want effectively remediated. But I'm always interested in especially the InfoSec perspective, or the more managerial perspective, as to what data is it that I want to see. And GDPR is complicated. It's not as easy as a manager wanting to see, if anybody's using the computer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very good question. Is like, what I see it is there will always be stuff that you are recording, very obvious stuff, and you will always be able to report on this because everyone records them, like maybe logins or something like that. Very straightforward, or maybe it's SIP activated or not, or that kind of stuff. That probably most tools will have that. The problem is then, when management says, I want to report on something else, it's like that no tool's going to ever predict what your CEO is going to report. And then you don't have the data because it's gone. Right? So that the two extremes. The reason I'm thinking as query is that you can think a little bit ahead and add things, put it in S3 or Kinesis or something like that. So you have something as you learn what people want and what you need for compliance. You can tweak it very easily, that kind of stuff. So that's why I'm thinking that along those routes. If other products come and try a job doing the same thing, yeah, fine. But it's just, to me, it seems like that's where the reporting side is really powerful right now. So that's why. So relationship plus two, we sit next to each other. So that's not very hard to talk to each other. So we do all the time, which is great. It's a really good way of doing it. And it's one good thing of working in a relatively small company is you don't have to schedule 15 meetings. Because we sit very close and talk to each other. And, if we talk to the CFO or the CTO or whatever, we just talk long. So that is one of the great things about it.
There is one thing I'd like to add on that is a change of, again, mentality past. You would collect everything because you might need it. With GDPR, you should make sure you only collect what you need and increase. If you need something, just add it. Because the more you collect, the more in trouble you will be if you don't need it. So it's a need to know basis. Keep what you need, discard the rest. So that's the fine line between what we need to. All I need to know at the moment is, can we do it? Don't want you to start doing it. Start doing it when we need it.
Data retention policies.
Absolutely.
Mostly because logging data is going to generate huge amounts anyway. Yeah.
So I guess my question is more from a culture perspective. As you said before, that we are very open. And 6 months ago, you didn't have to print laptops. Everybody was cowboy style. Well, I'm not saying they were, but they were. I'm curious how this decision, when you rolled out these changes, how was this communicated to the rest of the company? And what was the reaction from both the end user and the IT?
Yeah, you probably weren't picked up, so I'm going to repeat this. So basically, how was these changes we're doing through communicated, and how was the reaction from users and stuff? Very predictable. I mean, we Slack things out and we email things out to people. That's basically been the main way. We still have some communication to do. It's coming. It's in progress. We've got training coming as well. So that's not done for GDPR. But right now it's relatively informal, but there'll be more formal stuff for communication. So, and again, because we're a smallish company, it's not that hard because we see each other a lot. It's slightly harder with the offices around Europe. But yeah, we usually deal reasonably that, I think. The reaction from users is exactly what you expect. If you turn something, if you lock something down, someone will not like it.
Well, that's just a percentage of people that didn't like it.
That's so I turned on the policy, and then suddenly the CFO and the CEO didn't like it, and we had a discussion. And okay. To be honest, because we're a company where we do things, that's accepted. They might be grumpy for a little while, and then you turn it off, and we all agree, okay. So the end result was fine. So that's actually quite interesting, because I'm not really worried. I try and do what I think is sensible and what our team thinks sensible, and sometimes we get told, oh, we don't like it, change it, and that's fine. It's not a big deal, which is very different from where I used to work. I think it's incredibly hard to get done, because you had 500 people who wanted to voice their opinion first, and if you didn't include all those 500 people, they got really angry. And it's impossible to get out of the dark. It's a really, really difficult situation, for this type of stuff. So actually, sometimes we do stuff that people don't agree with, but that's fine. We usually have a chat with them, and usually they're fine.
And what about personal cell phones? Are people allowed to have company staff on personal phones, and are you managing those?
So about personal phones. So we don't hand out phones to everyone in the company, and we have very, very few desk codes, which is really big change for me. Very big change for me. So we're not very phone based.
In an office, we have very few experts. Customer care happens.
Customer care obviously answers the phone, and customer service people answers the phone, and for some people that's their main job. But across the company, there's very little phones going. Sales people are also very phone based, so they get company phones, and we tell them for your business stuff you need to use the company phone. But if people want to use personal phones, bring your own device. That's fine. But again, we are telling them when they start, don't do anything stupid. Don't put all your company data on your personal phone. We're obviously very online, so you say keep it on the G drive. If there's a problem, that's fine. We're not very hardcore on the personal phone stuff. But people who get company phones, we are enrolling them in MDM. If they get lost, we try and find them, this kind of stuff. So we're not completely crazy, but we're assuming that people are sensible. Very good questions. Should we move on? We've taken way too much time.
Well, I think we're wrapping up. It's about break time.
Break?
So it's
More beer?
it's perfectly timed.
More big.
Yeah, 5-minute break. Refresh yourselves.
Hello. The last Apple admins was mainly about working Macs and Windows together. Now, me and Bob went today, and we thought, no one's talking about working Macs and Windows together. They're talking about Macs, and they're talking about Windows. So we decided to do something different. So, here's me and Bob, out on patrol around London. So this is us, this is me, this is Bob. That's our Slack names if you want to talk to us, if you're really interested. Sure, I've got notes this time. Right, so a little tiny background about ITV. In ITV, the main client is the Mac, has been since about 2011. We've got about 6,000, they're all managed through Jamf. And we've got about 800 Windows devices, which aren't managed through Jamf, they're managed through SECM. And like these guys here were saying, they're mainly sort of in the finance arena. Excuse me a minute. So the Macs are managed through Jamf, as you say. We've got lots of lifecycle processes, which if you came to our event a couple of years ago, we went on in depth about that. So we manage stock, we've got lots of locations, about 10 different locations, all around the country, Scotland, Channel Islands, Northern Ireland. We get lots of stock movement around the country, we get production stood up, things go to Australia for I'm a Celebrity, things go to odd islands in the Pacific for Love Island, all that kind of stuff. And we need to know where it is. And we've written lots of tools to actually use the Jamf database to report on things. We update the CMDB from it, we do patch reporting, and obviously stock reporting. However, Windows is a different matter.
Previously, the Windows team were totally separate to the Mac team. An SCCM build was done, what, 4 or 5 years ago, wasn't it?
The original, yeah.
Yeah. It was managed through SCCM, but there was no stock control, there was none of this reporting. It was just a Windows build. Now, in the past few months, the Windows team have been integrated with the Mac team to form a devices team. Logical, really. So, we went to our challenge. How are we going to use existing Mac lifecycle tools to actually manage the Windows estate with minimal change for the front-end staff who are used to using all these tools, and minimal development effort from the likes of me involved, because we are the development team. So, this is my last slide, thankfully. So in the past, gone too far, sorry. No, there's a slide missing, Bob.
No, that was not. Don't look at me.
On this slide's here, right?
We'll pass it right in a minute.
On the slide in front of me, this disappeared from the Google presentation. We would use Recon to pull the Windows device into Jamf, but you can't do that anymore. Now we know that SCCM holds all the required info, and we know that we can pull it out and actually do something else with it. So I'm going to hand over to Bob now and talk about slide.
You ruined the surprise.
I bet it's out of order. No, it's not.
Keep going.
Just checking there, the jump order. Yeah, Bob, take it.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks, Mark. No, I've got my. Oh, was it? Yes.
Yeah, you want that later?
Yes. So we came up with, as always, an unusual solution. Well, I think it's unusual. That's kind of why we're here to ask if it's unusual. As we know, we can talk to GSS by the API. You can also talk to SCCM. It's not an API. It's all a bit scary. It's all very much directory reads and kind of database reads and stuff. And so I wrote a PowerShell script that talks to SCCM and it only does 2 things. It checks if the computer exists in GSS. If it doesn't, it creates it. If it does exist, it updates things like the last user logged in and that kind of thing, kind of general stuff you would see updated in an inventory. There is, I should probably read my notes, that would probably make more sense, wouldn't it? So there's an important change you have to make in GSS, which is listed at the bottom there, which is computer models.xml. Otherwise, GSS can't display what kind of computer it is. Now, the problem with that, of course, is if you use the Jamf cloud, you can't update that file. So if there isn't one, which I meant to look at before we came down and forgot, I'm going to put a feature request in to make that into, rather than a file, put it into the database so it could be updated because you just don't have access to it. This is a little snippet out of our computer models XML. You can see all the Windows machines. I unfortunately can't read that, so yeah. There is one important thing to remember, and that's that not everybody can type, as it would appear. So you can see here we have all these different variations of HP Spectre XT Pro 13. These are either straight from the factory, spelled incorrectly, or engineers come out to replace logic boards and typed it incorrectly. So the first value in this is actually straight from the BIOS on the machine, which is brilliant. So if you go into the BIOS, put the machine up into the BIOS, it'll be spelled wrong, or it will have strange characters of all sorts. The way I got round about that is that's actually from an array that's in the script, so it just checks the name off against it and compares it. The Spectre, for some reason, is the worst offender. People can't spell Spectre, and I certainly can't. And here is a Windows machine in GSS. Now, obviously there is a whole bunch of stuff you could do with this, should you wish to do it. It depends on what your needs are. Now, Jamf got rid of recon.exe, which is a bit of a shame, but I understand why they did it. It makes sense. It's a lot of upkeep, depending on Windows versions. Because we're relying on SCCM for this, we're not as dependent on the version of Windows. You can see there's an obvious or a deliberate mistake on here. This Windows machine, albeit a Z book, it has -1 processors, but it's okay because it's got 4 cores, so we'll probably be all right. Yeah, so still a little bit of work to do on that. I also don't at the moment collect application information because that's not really needed for our tools. But there's a whole pile of other stuff you could do with this idea. We do have a number of Chrome devices in the business. Chromebooks and Chromebits and Chromeboxes. We could also populate them in the same way, just for dealing with asset lifecycle management, which is a big issue for us. And if you want to go way out there, you could manage Windows machines from GSS by assigning attributes, and then have the PowerShell script read that back into SCCM to move machines and collections, for example, to install software, or do any other bits and pieces as you need to. We've not really, I don't really have a need to do that in the moment, but the thought's there should we want to do it. It's a really simple script. It's only about 200 lines long. It collects all information and imports into GSS. This is something that we would just leave to run kind of maybe once or twice a day, which would be enough to populate what we need. And really kind of, as I said, what we were interested in is what you guys think about that. Does anybody see any issues with that we've not thought of?
And as this is our notes, are we mad?
Yes, that is something which we would quite validate one way or the other.
I don't think this lot are going to answer that.
Well, let's probably go, right? You know, let's have some question up here.
Why would you waste database space on Windows devices?
I didn't quite catch that, sorry.
Why would you waste database space on Windows?
Oh, that's harsh. Harsh. So I take your point, and I'm with you. However, as the guy said earlier, people need Excel, people need finance software, such as like, I would love just to have all Macs, but sadly, not going to happen. That's great.
But Jamf used to have an SCCM plugin, didn't it?
Yeah, but that goes from Jamf to SCCM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the other way?
Yeah. So this is
That's
the
why I
thing.
never used it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we because we have so many more Macs than Windows machines, it doesn't make sense for us to put a huge amount of time and effort into Intune or SCCM to not do anything with that.
We would have to completely retool everything
Yeah.
that the front line guys use.
Oh, yeah.
So we've already written that. But they just, as far as those tools are concerned, it's a computer. It doesn't care what the model is. It's a computer with a serial number that was in Birmingham and is now in London or whatever. It's gone to repair, it's gone to Scotland or whatever. So it doesn't care what the device is.
Sorry, I think I missed a small bit at the beginning. Are you using Jamf as your CMDB?
No, we have a separate CMDB.
Question, why not do it within the CMDB?
Because the tools can't read the CMDB because the CMDB is hosted by a separate company.
Yeah.
So we actually take exports from Jamf and they suck that into the CMDB.
Yeah.
So again, instead of 2 exports, now they can have 1.
Yeah. Jamf basically is our source of truth for all of our devices. Okay. Off the back, sorry.
Just to pay a license fee to Jamf every Windows PC getting
They are unmanaged, so we pay a single unmanaged license fee. I'm hoping that nobody from Jamf, I see it. Andy.
Wrong answer.
I've read the license agreement, it's fine.
So you guys are the marketing, and there's an
we're the devices team.
Yeah.
You're the marketing part of the devices team. Is there an SCCM admin?
So I am both.
You are.
Myself and Mark are the Mac team, and myself, John and Sarah are the Windows team. So
Okay.
I sit across them both.
I see. And was it a technical or a business decision to manage Windows machines through Jamf, or to try to?
So for the political sense, we're not actually managing through Jamf. We're simply doing our asset lifecycle management through Jamf. And that was a resourcing choice. We just don't have the manpower and all the time to rewrite everything again into Windows to allow, because all of our kind of tools are built on Bash and Bashua. So rewriting all of that for Windows is a huge headache. And it just seemed like no sense to
And a
work.
lot of the reporting tools are web-based, so they just took a look at the database and go, that's the point. No need to rewrite them to point to 2 different data sources.
Yeah. No. It's fine. It makes sense. I'm more curious about how it started. Was this something that you guys wanted to do because it made?
I think Bob would have too many of these.
Yeah.
Basically, that's how most of these crazy things start. I sit down and go, it would be really good if we could simplify this.
Yeah.
Because what we end up with is we end up with multiple people doing what is effectively the same task on a different set of data. And it just seems like a huge amount of energy to input into to get the same information out that we could do in one process.
Flat cube, we just simplified.
That's the one, something like that. Any more questions?
When it comes to encryption,
Yeah.
do you keep the keys in the CMDB, or are you going to migrate them over to Jamf as well?
So the keys, the firewall keys are in Jamf, and the BitLocker keys are in AD for Windows. It's important to remember we are not completely trying to manage the Windows machines with Jamf. That's just not going to happen. They are still totally separately managed, but we want to kind of have a middle ground between the two. So all that sort of stuff is kept separate.
We just want to know where they are, basically.
Yeah.
Did you explain what recon was, I guess? Does that sort of answer that question?
Okay, no, I guess we didn't. So Recon on the Mac obviously does updates information about the machines. There was a Windows version which did the same thing, and it was great. Just saying. Sorry, I said I wasn't going to be mean. So, you know, we did have that all planned in and all set up and ready to go, and then not, as it turned out. So this is our best solution in the meantime. Any more questions for anyone? Yeah?
Is your code open source?
That is an interesting question. The code is extremely simple. We are.
To get up today?
I am happy to talk to you about how it works. I can show you, but I'm not allowed to share it with you. But from what I can show you, you'll be able to recreate it without too much trouble. It is literally 236 lines, including comments.
Cool.
You can open source.
I said nothing. Whatever you do with that work is entirely up to yourself. No comment, no warranty, no guarantee. Anyone? No? Cool.
No one said it was mad, Bob.
I'm just assuming we are.
You have to be mad.
Oh, so is this the votes for mad? Is that what this is? Is this the votes for mad? Votes for mad, hands up? Yeah, okay, cool. We'll take that. Fine. Cool. I don't mind. I'll make it up anyway. Don't know.
Yeah, now the sales pitch.
Please tell everybody, please come back.
I believe the toilet is now free if anyone needs to go. Yeah. No. Yeah, it's just up there. This is the longest setup ever. Spoiler alert. So I'm the only one doing the demo today.
You pray to demo goals.
Sacrifice the pizza. All right, so, whoops, I'm going to speak into that.
Yeah.
So I promise this will not be a sales pitch.
Really?
Well, I've already got some licensing to sort out. So my job here is done. All right. For those that don't know me, I'm Duke Chan. I'm a systems engineer for Jam, so I really care about the technical side of things rather than the licensing side, so you're safe. And today we're going to be talking about external patch source. So for those that don't understand or don't sort of have an idea of where that's coming from, let's have a history lesson. So the Jam's power really comes about its inventory. Pretty doesn't recon for Windows. And it does that by collecting all that information, okay, even extension attributes, which is custom items. Okay, so you can extend the information that you capture. And then you can create what's called smart computer groups, which is based on criteria. So that's great if we're looking for something that was developed a long time ago. And as the conversation came up, everyone's sort of moving to agile development. So, you can capture what application that was, but then we've got version 6 come out, and then a week later, there's another version, and then another version, and another version, and another version. And this doesn't scale well, which is was highlighted earlier. So we came out with the patch source, and the idea around that is we have a curated list of applications, which is managed by Jamf. And the reason why it's curated, it's not just a list that we ping out whenever something's released. We actually test those things. We actually look at the versioning, how that's versioned. Is it stable? Has it been pulled? That sort of thing. So there might be a delay. When people say, "Oh, it's released," why is it there an hour later? And we review those things before making them live, because that goes out to everyone. So when we released it, it was 20 titles. Now we're up to 50 titles. So it is growing. Okay, and we take that from our customer metrics and also our feature requests. So we do things like dependencies, reporting mechanisms, whether it's a reboot, whether we can kill the app, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of information we capture and push that out, besides just knowing what versions is there. For those not familiar with what it looks like, there it is. And Google Chrome, perfect example. Nothing live, nothing up to date in my JSS. We can drill down, we can see a nice pie chart, we can see what versions we're monitoring. We can see the devices in this new sort of view list. We can filter those things. So we're getting more information as we go. Then we've got what's called definitions. So, which update is going to which patch definition. Drill down into that. Is it an incremental update? Reboot required again. All this information is coming from that patch definition. And that also gets fed over to the policy. And then you can do some extra things, how that's being distributed, whether it's self-service, whether it's pushing. And then we look into when we're scoping it out. So how do we know what devices come into scope? Not only can we define which devices, but we only want to scope it out to eligible devices. So is it the correct version? Does it have the application installed? Is it the correct application that we're deploying it out to? So let's just see those first before we say deliver to all machines. And this is our patch policy. So again, I can have multiple branches. So what we've got here, I've got Google Chrome approved version, a test version, and I've also got the IC testing. Again, so you have multiple branches, do your testing, transfer, and then just deploy that out. And obviously, really nice view. So a lot of new terminology for those that aren't aware what a patch is. Software title, Pap source, Pap server, software definitions, patch notification, and patch policy. And all those things are built in automatically. But like you said, there's only a curated list of 50 apps. But you can imagine you might have your corporate apps, you might have some other apps, Slack perhaps. And for those ones, we've got choose your own source. So you've got your patch source, but also you might have your own company source. So the option there is you're able to then use your patch source on your own server and then pull that into your JSX, Jamf Pro server. And what would be really cool is a community patch source. And you can all leverage that as the community, which would be really nice. But what is patch, external patch sources? What we're doing is we're opening up the framework. It's a JSON data file which contains historical information about software titles and requirements for determining if the software is installed on a managed computer. The framework basically consists of the software list and a patch definition. Everything I'm going to show you after this is all on that link. Okay, so jamf.it external patch. You don't have to take a photo. I've got all the links curated at the end on a nice pretty slide. So what this document actually says is, well, this is what goes into a summary title, software title summary. This what goes into the full object. What's really important there is patches and extension attributes. Obviously, current version, app name, that sort of thing is good. But if we go into a patch, we can see here we capture the reboot, what applications get killed, minimum operating system, release version. Then if we're doing extension attributes, how do we catch the version of that application? Because not all applications play nice. You might have to come up with your own script and have that built into your patch definition. So now that we've got an understanding of what that is, what we need to put it on is a server application. And one of our nice community members, and also a Jamf employee, Bryson Terrell, has come up with a Pap Server. And the Pap Server is available. It's tools for setting up your own server. You can create and manage your own software titles. It's using an API framework, so you can automate it. It hosts your JSON files. But how do you create that file? He's come up with that, which is called the starter script. It creates your initial definitions. It's based on the info plist of the application. But like I said, if it doesn't, and you create your own script, you can plug that in, and we port that over into the patch definition. And again, that's the link, patch starter. I've made those links nice and handy. And here's the spoiler. Well, let's see how we go. So I'm using the patch starter script. It's a Python script feeding my application using app configurator, as we all use that, and gives us a view of the data file. It's not that hard, not that tricky. But what does that look like if I want to ping that over to my patch server? I can find my mouse. Here is the patch server running. I'm not going to show you the instructions on how to install that. It's pretty explanatory on the notes. You can put that in Docker, AWS, whatever. Mine's actually sitting in Docker for testing. And what I'll do is upload a new patch file. So something I've created earlier. My VMware, and ding, there we go. It's got my VM Fusion. My version, I go into that, you can see here the application, when it was last updated sometime last year, application bundle. Wow, that's so quiet. Waiting for it to go wrong. What happens if I want to automate that? Just getting that whole application up there to begin with. Something else I prepared earlier. Hopefully everyone could see that. So we're just using a curl post pointing to my server, using the Pap starter script, and using the Apple configurator example. Go over to my site, hit refresh, and pulls it in straight away. So this is where it was going wrong for me. Let's see if I can get this working. There we go. It nicely come in. So there's my VM Fusion. There's my configurator. Let's check this one out. Go into here. I can see my definitions. Increment not required. Minimum OS. Picked that up pretty nicely. Cool. So it's all running smoothly. Let's not abuse that. So what have we seen here? We've seen generating a general patch, a new patch, uploading a file, doing it from the script. But now I might just want to upload my patch. So I have a new version of VMware Fusion here. Again, just doing a curl post using the patch starter script. But I've just put in the attribute there, patch only. So I hit that. Boom. Go back to my Pap Server, refresh, that's what we're watching here, and it's got my new version. So again, all I'm doing is editing that JSON file, and if I hit refresh, where do I want to go? Patch management. VMware Fusion, it's got my new version in there. I have my multiple versions, and again, I can start creating my patch policies out of that. I can uncross my fingers now. So, here's the photos one. What we've seen there is the external patch, Pap Starter, Pap Server, and for the Slack group, Slack channel, Pap Server. So all Bryson's on there live. And little teaser for those with the keen eye. I did have the community patch there in my server. It's in beta at the moment, so we're doing some live testing. There are a couple of people on that. If you want to check that out and read the information, feel free to have some fun. Thank you. No questions. That was a joke.
I mean, if things are getting more dynamic and you're patching machines more frequently, how often would you recommend running a full recon machine?
I'm sure the community has some better answers than that that I'm going to give. It depends on what you're doing, how often you're updating. If you're deploying something, do you want inventory information of that? So put it into your deployment. Don't forget, everything is data capture. So how big do you want your database? Do you really need that information? Is it that important? Patch Server.
Is it supported by Jeff?
Sorry?
Patch Server. Is it supported by Jeff or?
No, it's on GitHub. It's a project.
Okay, so it's going to be, because we mentioned it now.
Yep.
It's going to be implemented at some point.
No, so the Jamf bit that's supported by Jamf is the Jamf patch notification. So that's the information that you get there and listed. What we made available is the external patch source. So within your console, you can add as many patch sources as you want. I haven't seen anyone max that out yet. So yeah, take advantage of that. If you've got internal apps that you don't want to let people know what you got, spin it up, and then if you want to leverage the community, don't forget you don't have to add every application in that source. You just ones you want to leverage. So I have seen some other tools out there that they have multiple things, and people just pick and choose what they want. You might have choice. Yep.
So are Jamf still planning to increase the number of apps that you actually provide official patch sources for? Or
Always.
Are you rely on the community?
Always. Definitely. It's a core feature and functionality that we're always going to grow out. But it just takes resources and quality. That's the thing we want to provide, quality.
And I guess a follow-up on that, is there any source or any plans for Jump to take community source patches and in-source those?
Bit early, I guess, at this stage to on.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone. Going to have a very brief news section because I'm sure you guys have not heard all the news. So just in case, we'll go over it again. We'll let you guys go to the pub. Best result for everyone. Funny enough, there was new releases this week, last week. iOS 11.3, the company Apple tvOS, I can't remember, but I'm assuming it's 11.3 as well. And macOS 10.13.4. Problems.
iOS 11.3 has some very big problems with a lot of different MDMs that essentially make devices unmanageable. So they send a weird or wrong response to a particular MDM command that then stops them being managed and got to read wrong. That's one understanding.
So 10.13.4. I was on holiday for a week and I spent a week catching up. You know the thing we were discussing about the erase and store?
Yes.
Do you know if that made it in?
It's coming. Interesting, it came out, was that last night? Night before last. Essentially, if you've got any Macs that are running 10.9.5 or newer or 10.10, I won't make your hands up, it's fine. The installer app for 10.13.4 is now being pushed to those devices as a standard software update. Yeah. I see a lot of shock faces. If you're not running any kind of sus and you're running software update -A, -I to install updates on a regular basis, generally speaking, not a bad idea. You might find out there's an install High Sierra app sitting in your applications folder. I don't quite know what the behavior is. It doesn't automatically trigger the upgrade, which is the initial faults. It might do the whole thing where it pops up and opens and tries to entice the user. It actually opens the application. So be aware of that. Consider software update server perhaps, or my suggestion would be if you're on those kind of OSs, get a newer one. Right, stay on. Tag.
10.13.4 has -- erase and install option in the start OS install command that's hidden in the installer, but only for APFS. Tested it in the VM, it works. So that gets you back to the setup of the system pretty quickly without having to net boot or go through internet recovery and type lots of things on the keyboard. And it's you can deploy it with your management tools, so it's automatable. Not bad.
10.13.4, another nice fix. So net install is now fixed to allow an automated, in a similar thing, erase and install. A feature that was previously in 10.12. So I guess they've resolved the regression in behaviour. Fun. There is apparently some issues that are around that, as of everything. Apple give us take it away. Some non-SSD devices are being upgraded to APFS. And some SSD devices are being deployed as, I guess, installed as HFS+. Be aware, deal with it appropriately.
File radars.
File radars, try not to throw things out windows. Tag.
That's it. Yeah, that way.
New podcast out, Mac Adams podcast, worth listening to. It covers a lot of new things in 10.13.4 and iOS 11.3. One other thing, I haven't actually seen this yet. But apparently, as of today, Apple have flicked a switch that alerts 10.13 users to 64-bit apps, 32-bit apps. So Mr. Troutman's got a nice little configuration profile that will suppress those warnings. But the end is nigh. If you're running 32-bit apps, start looking at alternatives or kicking vendors, especially if you give them money, get some work out.
One more thing.
One more thing.
Not featuring 10.13.4 and iOS 11.3. Is what we call the GDPR screen. Have you seen that?
I've seen that.
Think good about all the privacy stuff.
That's in the setup assistant, and I think the latest MDMs with the late versions of current MDMs can suppress it in your DP pre-stage. I've seen the option to.
Last thing with Kicking Next Door, special message from Mr. Graham Gilbert. The TLDR of that whole thing was Apple still hates us. Thanks, Graham. Enjoy California. Pub Next Door. See you there. Thanks for coming.